harmful that people want to, like, identify as another gender. How does that harm you?
Woke culture. It's literally everywhere. And let's be real, it's not sitting well with everyone. Feeling the same? Well, guess who's joined the conversation?
In context somehow with this movie, you know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between Fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's Fantasyland.
None other than Kurt Russell himself. Yep, the Hollywood legend is stepping in, and trust me, he's not holding back. What's got him so fired up? Let's find out. Kurt Russell, a Hollywood legend who's been around since the 1960s. Yeah, he started as a Disney kid, but it didn't take long for him to trade in the cute roles for something a little more rugged. He dove headfirst into action movies and became the no-nonsense cool guy we all know. His career? A wild ride. And even now, he's still full of surprises. And one of the biggest surprises? His take on woke culture. Yep, Kurt's not a fan. While Hollywood's busy trying to be super politically correct, Kurt's out here saying, pump the brakes. He's been pretty vocal about how he thinks this whole woke thing is getting out of hand, and Hollywood? Well, let's just say they're not exactly thrilled about it. But Kurt couldn't care less. What makes him stand out is how unapologetic he's always been. On screen or off, Kurt Russell has never been one to shy away from speaking his truth, even when it's not the popular opinion. He's gone on record saying he doesn't think actors should mix politics with their work, and he's been clear that he's not into this new wave of political correctness sweeping through Hollywood. Kurt's always done things his way, and that's exactly why he's still one of the most interesting names in the business. So, what's woke culture really? No, not the wild stuff you see all over the internet.
Men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are-
menstruated it.
Yeah, that stuff. At its core, it's simple. It's about being socially aware of things like racism and inequality. Easy? But somehow, this basic idea has spiraled into something else entirely. Now it feels like we're all fighting over, I don't even know what. Kurt's taken a hard stance on this.
You know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between Fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's Fantasyland. And that's where that stuff belongs. In reality, when we're dealing with things like
And obviously some people don't love that. Say hey to someone and boom, you might get canceled. Yup, canceled. Some people take it to such an extreme, it's more delusional than it is aware. They've lost the plot, and the second you call it out, they hate it. It's like they can't handle a reality check. Kurt's not here for that nonsense. He thinks people are losing themselves, trying way too hard to be politically correct and forgetting about, well, reality. And honestly, he's not alone in thinking that. He isn't even against progress. He's just not a fan of the over-the-top stuff. He's all for speaking up. But when people start forcing their opinions on everyone else, he's like, yeah, no thanks. And honestly, he's got a point. It's one thing to be vocal, but turning your personal views into a force that everyone has to follow, that's just absurd. Let's just leave it there, because, well, I don't want to get canceled. You know how it goes. Now let's actually dig deeper into one of Kurt's boldest takes, gun laws. Yep, not your average Hollywood hot topic, but Kurt's got some interesting thoughts on the matter. And trust me, they'll make you think. So, gun laws, big deal? They're basically rules about who can own a gun, how they get it, and what they can do with it. You've got background checks, waiting periods, restrictions, the usual stuff. Now, the woke crowd, they're all about stricter gun control. In their minds, fewer guns mean fewer shootings. They argue that if you limit access to firearms, you're gonna see less gun violence. It's all about awareness. But Kurt's not buying it.
Yeah, connect the dots for me.
I think that there's a feeling about shootings and violence different now in 2015 than it was in the mid-90s.
Oh, sure. It's not the 90s. We're in
But
2015.
Quentin's doing the same game, more or less.
Quentin does what he does, yeah. Quentin's, he's like painting a picture, or he's like writing a story, or he's like a filmmaker. No, I think that to mix and match reality, with fantasy is something I don't understand, but that's just me. I think that we should understand the difference. I think that, you know, to mix today's politics with, for instance, in this case, a tale about, a fictional tale about just right after the Civil War.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about ground level, water table.
According to him, stricter gun laws aren't going to stop terrorists or criminals. They're going to do whatever they want anyway.
I mean, I don't understand the concepts of conversation of the gun culture. We've lived with guns since, what, the 7th century or something? I don't know.
We all know that right now. Guns is a trope. It's not a trope, it's a totem, it's a metaphor that disenfranchised white guys need. It makes them feel good because they're being
You can say what you want. I don't agree with that. It's not my thing.
But it's statistically...
Well, you can look. If you think gun control or something like that is going to change a terrorist point of view, I think you're like...
Think about it. Do you really think a terrorist is going to stop and say, oh wait, this is against the law. Let me just drop this gun? Yeah, no chance.
It's absolutely insane. The problem we're having right now is that we don't have the concepts of how to turn it around and say, you know, you may think you've got me worried about what you're going to do. Dude, you're about to find out what I'm going to do. And that's going to worry you a lot more. And that's what we need. That will change the concept of gun culture, as you call it, to something of reality, which is, if I'm a hockey team and I got a guy bearing down on me as a goaltender, I'm not concerned about what he's going to do.
They don't care about laws or restrictions. They're going to get their hands on whatever they want, one way or another. And if someone's coming after you, the only person who's going to save you is you. He's not saying we should live in fear, but let's be real. When it comes down to it, it's you against the world. And when that moment hits, who's going to protect you? The government? Nope. Your neighbor? Probably not. It's just you. And that's why Kurt believes the answer isn't more gun laws. It's the opposite. He's all about the idea that if everyone has the right to bear arms, that's the real deterrent. Think about it. If you know the person you're about to mess with might be packing heat too, you're probably going to think twice before causing trouble. It's the whole, don't mess with me because I'm packing too mentality. He's not asking for any chaos, just that people should have the right to defend themselves. He's basically saying, look, if criminals are going to have guns no matter what, why are we making it harder for regular law-abiding citizens to protect themselves? It's a fair point. Why punish the people playing by the rules, when the bad guys couldn't care less about those rules in the first place?
The guys who are on the no-fly list. No-fly list because of terrorist connections can get a gun pretty easily.
They can also make a bomb pretty easily. So they can also get knives and stab you. What are you going to do about that? They can get cars and run you over with. What are you going to do about that?
For Kurt, it's just common sense. Taking guns away from responsible people doesn't magically make criminals behave. If anything, it leaves good people defenseless. The bad guys are just having a field day. It's like showing up to a fight with a water gun while the other guy's got a bazooka. It doesn't make much sense, right? It leaves the law-abiding citizens out in the cold while the criminals are out there living their best lives. What the woke crowd says is just not practical. It might sound nice on paper, but it just doesn't work in the real world.
Oh, but they've killed others that way, haven't they? Yeah. Yeah. So what are you gonna do? Outlaw everything? That isn't the answer.
Just put something.
Put some controls. What? So the people who want to defend themselves can't?
No, not so you can't. Just so the idiots can't get a hold of them.
Do you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that? Are you seriously? What good will that? Oh my.
Kurt believes in self-defense, plain and simple. He's not saying everyone should be running around armed to the teeth. But if danger's knocking on your door, you should at least have the right to protect yourself. And if the government doesn't like that, well, that's just how it is sometimes. You don't always agree with everything, and that's fine. But Kurt Russell isn't the only celebrity speaking up about gun rights. Ted Nugent is there too. And trust me, this guy is in a league of his own. While Kurt might keep things polite and somewhat measured, Ted goes full throttle on the issue without holding back.
It's unacceptable, and I will not accept it. I am a free man. Don't tread on me.
Ted's stance is that gun ownership is as natural as breathing air. He believes that defending yourself is a basic human instinct, and no government should be meddling with that right. He finds the idea of gun restrictions not just ridiculous, but downright dangerous. For Ted, the government has no place telling people what they can or can't do regarding self-defense. He thinks people should have the ability to protect themselves without interference. And if that means owning a gun, then so be it. Nugent's approach is anything but subtle, but it's clear where he stands. Coming back to Kurt, he's not only about the gun law. Let's talk about his stance on the Second Amendment, a huge deal in the U.S.
I'm going to have different opinions on how to do it, how to deal with it. Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason Founding Fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War.
Written way back in 1791, it gives Americans the right to protect themselves and gives them freedom of speech. And this very law is why the woke crowd even gets to voice their opinions. Kurt's like, it's that simple. Without it, even debating gun control wouldn't be possible.
If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life, their way, their style of living. So I agree with that. I think that's an important part of our existence, and it's basically too bad that the debate can't remain kind of civil too. And that's what's hard to do. It's one of those things that it's like I talked about, sometimes talking about terrorism. Whatever we do, we all have our opinion on that too. Whatever we do, we're a little late for people who die. And if you know somebody, or you know a child that was maimed in that situation, I got a strong feeling that one's opinion has a tendency to change. So I just leave it open for interpretation by all different people and just say we're all in this together. And we're going to hear each other talk about it.
Now Ted Nugent? He takes it even further. He believes the Second Amendment is a birthright. So basic, it shouldn't even need to be written down.
Second Amendment, gun control. You've been on the NRA's board since '95, and this is a subject that you maybe feel more strongly about than any other.
I believe that
Make your case.
I believe that a person's...
In his mind, everyone should have the right to protect themselves. No questions asked. While Kurt's more chill about it and Ted's blazing hot, they both agree on one thing. Owning a gun is essential. They argue that if you take away the right to bear arms, innocent people are left defenseless, while the bad guys, they'll still find a way around the rules. With the Second Amendment in hand, Kurt thinks woke culture has gone off the rails, and he's not holding back on it. One of the things that really baffles him is the extra privileges being handed out, especially when it comes to gay marriages.
Beat around the bush with. My beef, I'm a libertarian, so my beef with advantages given to anybody because they happen to live together and have a ring and have had a ceremony. I don't think married couples should get an advantage of any kind. So my beef isn't with, as a political move, it's not with gay marriage, it's with why does anybody get an advantage over anybody else because they happen to live with somebody and have a family? I don't follow that.
Do you think we should wipe out marriage altogether?
No, I didn't say that.
Now, don't get it twisted. Kurt isn't against gay people at all. He's made that clear. In fact, he said that no one should be discriminated against for who they love. But where he draws the line is when people start getting special treatment just because they're part of some woke community. Like seriously, why should you get extra benefits just because you married someone of the same gender? It's not that he's against gay marriage, he's just not for handing out perks because of it. He points out that straight people don't get extra privileges for getting married, and if they did, the world would call them abusers of the system. The woke crowd seems to want their flags flying everywhere, taking control of the narrative, and anyone who disagrees gets labeled as insensitive or even worse. What started as a movement for equality has now turned into something else entirely. To him, it's gone from celebrating love and inclusion to being all about rubbing it in people's faces. For Kurt, this is just one more example of how woke culture has lost touch with reality. While equality is important, handing out special privileges doesn't make things fair. And then there's the whole Hollywood scene. Kurt feels like woke culture has completely infiltrated the industry, and it's gotten to the point where you can't even say what you think without someone getting offended. Some celebs back him up, but a lot of them don't. and it's caused some serious drama. People nowadays can identify as whatever they want. You can probably identify as a chair now, or a bee, or a fairy. As ridiculous as it sounds, that's where things are headed. Even Barack Obama and Donald Trump have weighed in on this stuff.
The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws. People who you are fighting may love their kids and, share certain things with you. And I think that one danger I see among young people, particularly on college campuses, Malia and I talk about this. Yara goes to school with my daughter. But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And that's enough. Like if I tweet or hashtag didn't do something right or use the wrong verb, or I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself. Because man, you see how woke I was? I called you out.
Was he woke? I don't think so. I don't think he was too woke. He was the exact opposite. You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true.
So yeah, when two former US presidents with wildly different views are both jumping into the conversation, things have gone way too far. It's like, at this point, everyone's got something to say about woke culture. And honestly, that kind of tells you everything you need to know about just how out of hand it's gotten. At the end of the day, Kurt's not against progress. He just thinks woke culture has taken it too far. And he's not shy about calling it out. But what do you think? Is Kurt Russell onto something, or has he gone too far? The debate's far from over, but whose side are you on in all of this? Share your thoughts in the comments section below and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.